everyone, welcome again to our episode 2 of Bloated World. My name is Monika Dulian. I am a healing facilitator at Always the Heart, and my guest today is Alison Kate, and she will be talking to us about the root causes and what is actually behind the concept of the bloated world. Welcome, Alison Kate.
Hi everyone. So I am a hypnotherapist, healer, and yoga and meditation teacher based out of New York City. And I'm really happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, welcome again. I was very excited after our last episode talking about what bloated world is and what it means and how it shows itself up in our experience, everyday experience. And I remember we ended up on the note of what are the benefits of starting to come back to the body and pay attention and slow down. So today we will be covering a few topics, explaining to us, our viewers, what is laying at the root of this problem. Why we are this bloated society? Why are we overdoing, over collecting, doing things in excess? Maybe you can start with one of the root causes of that. What is laying there? What is hiding in the roots?
Yeah, so I believe that one of the biggest or the most significant root cause of overdoing anything in life is this feeling of not knowing the self, not being grounded in yourself, body, mind, and spirit, or at least energy body. And this concept of not taking time to develop a relationship with yourself, which comes in silence and stillness and practice. And I think for a lot of people, we assume that we know ourselves, we're with ourselves all the time. So by default, we must know ourselves. And I think the more that I've been on this self-seeking personal growth path, I realized how much I didn't know myself before and how disconnected I was with this relationship of the self, which we say is the most valuable relationship we can develop in our lives because it's the only one we have, without a doubt, until the day we die.
Wow. When you were talking about this, what really hit me in that moment is that I remember I thought where my boundaries are. I thought I know what I am able to accept and where I'm supposed to say no, like knowing my limits. But when I started the self-healing journey and was slowing down and really paying attention to the body cues, the mental cues, and what I'm supposed to say no and what I want to say yes to, I felt very ambiguous. I did not know my boundaries. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I see you shaking your head. There is something more to it. Tell me about boundaries.
I completely agree with that. I think there's like two parts to that. One is you can really only know what your boundaries are when you've explored that deep within yourself, which ties back to the self-knowing and taking time to explore what's really important to me. What are my needs? What are my basic needs that I'm not willing to compromise on? And then separate from needs, what are my wants? What are my desires? Are they aligned? Are they aligned with the activities and situations that I put myself in? Are they aligned with the people that I'm in relationship with? And so understanding what's really important to each of us is the first step in creating boundaries. And the second step is having confidence and the understanding or the trust to be able to communicate those needs and boundaries very clearly and explicitly with ourselves, with our activities, and the people in our lives, which is really challenging, especially when we're not taught good ways of communication in schools and growing up from our families.
So what I'm getting a sense of when I listen to you talk about the boundaries and the relationship with oneself, could overdoing, overthinking, overcollecting, doing too much to the point when we are just bloated with external cues and experiences, is it somehow protecting us from experiencing something within ourselves? How is the bloatedness helping us feel safe instead of going deep within?
Well, I think the bloatedness is a coping mechanism, and one could argue it keeps us safe because it keeps us from really confronting challenging topics or even changing, keeps us from changing. And you could argue that it's the opposite of keeping us safe because it numbs us out from hearing and connecting with what we really need. And so the over bloating is almost putting like a dampener or a mute on the needs that we're feeling on the inside that we're not feeling safe or confident or comfortable to share outwardly or even to acknowledge to ourselves to some degree.
Yeah. So when I do have boundaries, and I'm sure that a lot of viewers are probably thinking that to themselves as well right now, if I have boundaries, if I know what my needs are, am I then needy and basically being a difficult person? How does knowing yourself and really knowing your core, your worth play into that?
Well, I think first we have to get clear on how we respond to things. So for example, in meditation or even in the shower, somewhere that you're slower and still and quiet, ask yourself, what does a yes feel like in my body? Or what does a yes signal in my mind? And what does a no feel like? What does a neutral feel like? And to really start to get in touch with what indication crops up or pops up when you give it space and time to allow it to be there. And then, sorry, you were asking about what if we're not comfortable with expressing those outwardly?
Yes, exactly, because someone can be judging me from my environment, especially I remember from my childhood experiences. Don't you dare say no to me. Are you arguing with me? Who do you think you are? So I noticed that in myself, and I know a lot of people will be arriving at this realization that we are not saying what we want and what we don't want and don't agree to because of how the environment is going to judge us.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that as a reformed people pleaser, always. It's like there's two parts of that. One is to, as an adult at least, to accept that when someone's judging us for speaking our truth or living what feels true to us, that those are not the right people, and it's okay to let them go, whatever feelings come with that, to feel them, to feel the sadness, to feel the pain of abandonment or heartbreak, and that's okay. And that's a whole different conversation, but there are ways to do that in a safe space that allows you to trust that inner compass in you more and more. Like steering away from these people, as much as it's hard to say goodbye, actually gets me to the people that I'm meant to connect with in being clear. And then the second part of that is the subconscious programming that we've had growing up. That's when you're told it's not okay to make your own decisions in that way, or no, this is not okay, you need to do things this way. As an adult, we're still walking around with that programming. And so to dive into some kind of subconscious exploration, whether it be hypnotherapy or MIT or various other modalities, to really understand, oh, that thing is coming from my 7-year-old self, not from me now.
That implies change. It implies changing not only outlook, but also our behavior, our habits. That is scary because a lot of our, in my experience with the clients that I'm working with and in my own experience, I built, and my clients have built in the past, an idea of who we are based on what we do. And if we're going to change it, then that means I'm going to change as a person, and maybe some people in my life are going to start falling off. Maybe I will start to say no to important people in my life that I rely on, for example, my boss. I'm going to start being very protective of my time and not doing overtime. And change can be scary, and there is a lot of resistance to change.
Yes. So one of the things that we really hammer home in hypnotherapy is that we're fundamentally built to be resistant to change because our brain says, what you did yesterday, we know you didn't die. We know that you're safe. So we want to keep repeating that, because anything that defaults from or differs away from that pattern of yesterday is riskier than what we know works. So as much as what we know causes emotional pain or suffering, we're still technically physically safe. So that's what the brain wants to default to. And then there's some other part of us, whether that be called the heart or the soul or some of your energy, that talks to you and tells you, no, I actually do want this change, or I've never experienced this thing over here, so I'm curious about that and I want to explore that and I want to go towards that. And that's like that inner pilot light, or the inner voice, or some people call it, the gut feeling or instincts or intuition, that is maybe a mechanism of how we grow personally or as a soul. And so we have these two opposing forces, like the human mammalian brain that's trying to keep us safe and doesn't want to change and is super resistant. And then the part of us that really wants to grow and evolve and experience new excitement and risks. And I think oftentimes we can have this bloated feeling, or this concept of like being pulled in two directions. So because of this inner conflict, and I found so much for myself and for the clients that I work with, that when we don't listen to the inner voice, the true voice of the heart or the gut, that our body starts to scream at us in either being physically bigger, or, you'll have a small accident and then like a bigger accident because something is trying to get your attention. And so as much as we can, finding a way to be nurturing and kind to the part that is resistant to change, because there's a purpose to that, and also honoring the part of us that's driving our evolution forward.
Wow, exactly. That split within oneself. I want to change it, but I am so afraid to change it, right? And as we grow older, as we are starting to maybe somehow sometimes pay attention, the self-awareness, self-relationship, the heart, the soul, the spirit will start to talk. We start to recognize and even notice what no longer works in our life. And then there is this resistance. Oh, I need to change it, but I don't know how. And we start to notice our boundaries, and maybe even a little bit of anger about all of that starts to surface, because we have the feedback. I need to change. Something needs to change to really support me, but I don't know how. And I am resistant and I am afraid. And I have this idea that this is going to be the worst thing in my life if I change myself.
Right. And that's that leap of faith, or, because often the inner voice tells us what we need, but we don't know the how until we're willing to go there and like dip our toes in the water and sort of move towards that. Doesn't mean we have to jump all the way in without knowing the how, but we at least have to be open and moving towards it to, I think, have some of those how details come to light.
Would you say to our viewers that when they're starting to notice this discord, dissatisfaction with life, and noticing that maybe there has been too much of some things, agreeing to too many things, saying yes to too many people, collecting too many things, spending too much, lending your energy, time, and attention to others, and avoidance on trying to buy attention and approval, when they're starting to get that awareness and they feel that anxious excitement even raising up in the body. I know we will be talking about the actual steps, what to do about this in our next episode, but when they're gaining that awareness, would that be a really good plus and something to be excited about? Or how would you advise the viewers to deal with just knowing that something needs to change, but not knowing how, when they get that awareness?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So I think some good, like, easy place to start or homework would be to pick one of these things. So we've touched on the relationship with the self, boundaries, knowing what yours are, as well as how to communicate them externally and with people in our lives, the resistance to change and following the inner compass or inner guide, and then also like a sense of worthiness and really feeling entitled to live a life on your terms and to not have to overprove or overachieve, and some of the overs that we've already talked about. And worthiness comes from so many different worthiness issues, or worthiness depletion comes from so many places in childhood and perhaps even beyond. That's a whole nother topic too. But I would suggest to pick one of these areas and to just start to notice, like you choose to be the witness or the observer to your experience, instead of being on autopilot or being caught right in the storm, they say, like that's from the Buddhist perspective of, when I'm meditating, I notice that I'm thinking. So instead of staying in the dialogue of thinking, can I zoom out, almost like I'm watching myself from the outside, and observe what's going on? Oh, that mind is really chattering. Oh, I just did that thing without knowing if I feel yes or a no about it. Interesting. Where is that with boundaries? Oh, I just did that. I just agreed to that thing with a person because I'm not in relationship with myself right now. I'm in a relationship with them and making my decisions based on their reaction. Or, oh, I just chose to do that behavior that I really don't like that I do, but it feels comfortable because it's a habit. So just noticing. And the more you notice, the more like it illuminates the path forward, that awareness, I believe.
Paying attention.
Yeah.
And noticing, as you were saying, just zooming out and observing yourself. And when you were talking about it, it's like that awareness goes a little bit wider. And there was no judgment in what you were just describing. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Let me notice a little bit more about it, pay attention to it more. New information comes to the surface.
Right, almost like you'd watch little baby, like, oh, they're doing this new, or oh, they're doing this thing, but you wouldn't judge them. You're just noticing because it's all from a pure place. And in a sense, that's what that's like watching the subconscious mind. It's all pure, or like at a base level of awareness, because it's all the subconscious mind knows. And the more we bring light and bring that subconscious mind to into consciousness, the more we can watch it and then say, oh, actually, I want to pivot and do it this way. Is there anything else you would add to?
I wanted to add that the takeaway that I got from it are those almost cue words or I'm just going to say it what I got. It's like when I noticed that I did something out of comfort, not because I like it. I did something because I'm used to it, and it's comfortable to do that, not because I actually desire it. This is a very good time it's almost like that alarm bell, ding, 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 pay attention, what happened here? This is a very good spot, an open spot to go deeply within yourself and pay attention to here.
And I will even add like one more step if you guys listening are interested, that's like to create a pattern interrupt and start with something so easy first. Like they say, like putting on the left sock if you normally put on the right sock first every day, or try eating one meal with the other hand, just to get your mind used to, oh, there's a different way. It might not be as seamless, but it's totally doable.
I don't even know which sock I put on first. It's so automatic. Like, right. Yeah.
And we don't even know we're doing it the same way every time sometimes. But when you start to watch yourself, you're like, oh my goodness. Even people that are into patterns don't realize how habitual almost every little thing we do in our life is. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I am just like, wow, at this moment. I'm going to start paying attention to these little things, especially in the morning when you're half awake.
Yes.
And you do things automatically out of muscle memory.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. I love that. So next time we're going to be together, we're going to be talking a little bit more about some strategies and tools to use to gain that self-awareness and also to release some of that bloat. Yeah? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yes.
I am very excited for that.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to add a little bit of my own spin and my own view on bloatedness.
Yeah.
It usually, to me, implies something that we are fed up with. And many times we are fed up with things, not even paying attention to them. Our bodies, just like you, Alison, said, are going to let us know that something is out of balance. And by noticing that we have had enough of giving ourselves or chasing a goal, or maybe even some people in our life that we have not been able to end a relationship with, whether there are friendships, maybe some coworker drama, right? When we don't allow ourselves, as you said at the beginning, have that relationship with ourselves to know the yes and the no, the body will tell us. And bloatedness tells us that has been too much of something in our life. And we're going to be, next time we're together, digging deeply into what am I fed up with? And what is it that I do not have that I am just like taking in, trying to fill the void. This has been very informative.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And we can even also, in the next episode or another one, talk about even more the wisdom of the body and how to really honor it as this, just amazing source of wisdom, maybe the most wise we have in all of our consciousness.
Yes. Yeah, because the body never fails us randomly. It doesn't just like stop working or turn against us. It responds to our life, the inside life and the outside life. It's always on our side, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for giving us these ideas and showing us how the speed of our life and the attention, where we pay the attention to, what we pay attention to, is then reflected in our life. And also that alignment between what we think we want and what our heart actually wants.
Yes.
Autopilot and the actual desire.
Yes.
So
beautiful final words.
Exactly. Beautiful. So we're going to end here. If you would like to contact myself or Alison, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information how to find us. And Alison will be leading the next conversation about how to tune into the body and find this information directly from the wisdom of your physical existence. I wanted to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, and I am hoping to see you during our episode 3. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.